I don't think Shakib Al Hasan will become one of the greatest ever by the time he retires, because he already is one of the greatest ever to play the game of cricket. It is about how much more iconic, greater, and more of a timeless inspiration he can become at the end of his cricketing journey. Now, I'm aware that the position that he is already one of the greatest of all times is opposed by many cricket fans. I know that for a fact from all the fan debates and arguments I observe on social medias on a daily basis.
Do you compare him to some of the all-rounders of the past? I don't think it's the right thing to do, but he definitely is a fabulous player. And again, as Has said, once his career finishes, he will go down as one of the best players to come out of Bangladesh.
The most common argument brought up, especially by the international cricket fan community, is that Shakib does not have any major ICC Cup or championship. No World Cups, Champions Trophy, hell, not even an Asia Cup. I understand where they're coming from. It is understandable for this objection to come up, and I'll address it later in this video. But first, let's go through his records. His records are just unbelievably good and underrated. It is talked about, but his records deserve much more appreciation. Let's just simply go through his records, and the records alone will make that case. Considering all categories of ICC rankings, Shakib Al Hasan is the only cricketer in history to rank number 1 in all 3 formats at the same time, making the number 1 all-rounder synonymous to his name. While no one else has been able to do that, Shakib has repeated the feat multiple times. He lost the crown and regained it multiple times, while others couldn't even do it once. And he has maintained top positions in the rankings consistently for over a decade. He first became number 1 in ODI rankings in 2009, topping stars like Kallis, Afridi, Yuvraj, Oram, Jayasuriya, Flintoff, and others, and since then, all the way up to 2019, before the point he got banned for a year and taken off the rankings. He was number 1 most of the times, and in top 3 all formats more than 95% of the times. There's an intriguing stat-based video from Cricinfo about Shakib that was posted in 2017. It has some really interesting info, but there isn't an updated version of that. Now let's check some info from the 2K17 video first. So it dives into how many weeks Shakib spent as the number 1 in rankings and how that compares to others. The video shows that Shakib spent the highest number of weeks ever as the number 1 ODI all-rounder with 324 weeks. He was topping the list, being 121 weeks ahead of Kallis, who is in the second spot, and this is back in 2017. We had more than 2 years of Shakib being the number 1 most of the times, meaning he's even farther ahead now. The feat, even back in 2017, was so incredible that Cricinfo went on to compare it with rankings of other sports. Shakib was also ahead of Roger Federer and Serena Williams in terms of number of weeks as number 1. When it comes to the test rankings, till March 2017, Shakib had spent 164 weeks as the number 1, being behind Imran Khan, Ian Botham, and Richard Hadley. So I was wondering how much further he came by 2019. But there isn't an updated video, so I asked a friend to manually try to get the data, so it might be a bit off. So what we found out is that by 2019, Shakib had already spent more than 240 weeks as the number 1 test all-rounder in total. Meaning Shakib has already surpassed Imran Khan and Ian Botham, who had 197 and 237 weeks respectively. So he's only second to Richard Hadley at the moment, and looks like it is a matter of time before he dethrones Richard and becomes the all-rounder to have spent highest number of times as the number 1 all-rounder in rankings in all 3 formats. He also has the highest number of weeks, being the number one in all three formats at the same time, but that's a given because he is the only one in the list. Moving on, in the history of international cricket, only 3 cricketers have scored the combination of 10,000 international runs and 500 wickets. South African cricketing legend Jack Kallis, Pakistani superstar and one of the biggest entertainers of the game, Shahid Afridi, of course, the number one Mr. All-Rounder, Shakib Al Hasan. And guess who is the fastest to do that? Shakib, and he did that super fast. Like, it's not even close. Shakib did it in only 302 matches, and that is 118 matches faster than Kallis and 175 matches faster than Afridi. They did it in 420 and 477 matches respectively. In fact, Shakib has already surpassed Afridi's career totals despite playing 186 less matches than Afridi. Afridi 524 matches, 11,196 runs and 541 wickets. Shakib 338 matches, 11,752 runs and 562 wickets. Now, if you are thinking impact on field, guys, the difference here is way too big. Not 20, 30, 50 or even 100 matches for that to be a decider. He surpassed the numbers with a difference of 186 matches. 186! Let that sink in, brother. And let's talk impact anyway, okay? He is not once in a blue moon game changer. For Bangladesh, he is the game. He is the impact. He is the lead. He has to take the most responsibility going in almost every match. The lead bowler, fielder, batsman, he does it all under tremendous pressure. And here's one of many amazing facts to back that up. Shakib Al Hasan is the only player in World Cups to be at the same time the highest run scorer and the highest wicket taker for their country. And why wouldn't he be? Shakib is the only one in World Cups to have hit the double of 1,000 plus runs and 30 plus wickets. He is also the only in World Cup history to have scored 600 plus runs and take 10 plus wickets in a single edition of WC. He's only the second after the greatest batsman of all times, Sachin Tendulkar, to score 7 half-centuries in a single edition. He's only the second after Yuvraj Singh to score 50 plus run and take a 5-wicket haul in a World Cup match. And Shakib did all that without even getting to play the semis thanks to his outstanding team. The numbers alone makes it spectacular, but the conditions under which he performed like this makes it that many more folds impressive. Hear me out, there's a really interesting story or perspective to this. Because right now, in this case, I'm not talking about the obvious that he is the frontline everything for his team and is always expected to carry his team, and not even talking about the injuries he had to counter leading to the World Cup. I'm talking about a gun being held against his head leading to and during the World Cup. The anti-corruption unit of ICC started investigating Shakib way before the WC started. And soon after the World Cup, Shakib was banned for a year for turning down match-fixing offers but not informing authorities about getting approached out of negligence. Shakib played the World Cup knowing that the verdict could come down any time. It was an uncertain situation, and nothing gets more unnerving than uncertainty. Even some of the greatest athletes of all times talked about when things happen that is beyond their control. What made it even more difficult is that I didn't know that. You didn't know that. Millions of fans expecting Shakib to deliver did not know that. His coaches, teammates, bored. No one knew that, but Shakib knew that, and it made the burden that much heavier. They could have announced him banned any time. He might not have got to play the WC after working so hard. Of course, that was in back of his mind during the WC, but he absorbed all of that like an absolute beast and put out a world record performance in the WC. If you ever want to talk about performance under surreal pressure, talk about none other than the one who is the number one, Shakib Al Hasan. Now we talk about Shakib not winning major international cups, as I had promised to address in the beginning of this video. First of all, when we're comparing players, their records as individuals should not be discredited because he and his team as a whole failed to win cups. We aren't talking about team performance, but rather individual performance. Of course, there is immense value in being able to make your team the champion side, and the player as an individual can get lots of points for that. But even if he fails to, he can make up for that by getting points in other ways. For me, it's more important to consider whether the player is a champion material or not. You can't but consider that in case of Shakib, when he puts up such an extraordinary performance and yet his team can't even make it to the semis. It is a team game after all, and you can't simply win at all by yourself. Rest of Bangladeshi players, the team management and everything else just failed Shakib. This video isn't about 2019 WC Bangladesh performance analysis, but out of the many factors, I can give you just one factor that if it could be corrected, even with all the other shortcomings, BD would have still made it to the semis. It is a harsh truth, and I ask my fellow Bangladeshi brothers to for once, process this part logically and to not react out of emotion. Shakib wasn't the only one making world records from BD in that WC. Someone else did that too, but in the opposite sense. Mashrafi bin Murtaza, the then captain of the team, is the only bowler in World Cup history to give away 300 plus runs to take a single wicket in a single edition of WC. The only bowler. It is the worst ever bowling average in a single edition of WC. Guys, you cannot have your lead pacer, your opening pacer, give away 300 plus runs to take just one wicket and expect it to make it to the semis in a World Cup. Shakib didn't even need his mates to perform extraordinarily well. But some of them did not only fail to perform well, but went out of their way to perform super awfully, essentially knocking BD out of the WC. 300 for one just takes half away from Shakib's efforts. If we just had even a regular performer in his place who just took 4 or 5 wickets, boom, just for that we would have been in the semis, and anything could happen once you get there. But no, we had someone who was clearly unfit to play another WC, who was way past his prime. No disrespect intended to Mashrafi and his contributions to the team over the years, but there's always a right time to step down, no matter how great you are. So what can Shakib do when the team and the fans are so emotional and unprofessional that we have such selections and make such mistakes? It's almost like he has to fight against all the unprofessionalism of his own team while also taking care of the opponents. Now this is my actual argument as to why the problem is with his team, not him. and why he indeed is a champion material. Shakib has been playing franchisee leagues around the world, and if you take a look at it, he has been a part of champion teams for almost all leagues he played in. He won cups in IPL, CPL, T10, PSL, BPL, and some other leagues. He is one of the players with the highest number of cups and success in franchisee leagues. So when he is in proper teams, he is able to win the cups. He's undoubtedly a champion material player. That's why leagues around the world want him. Still, I'm an optimistic person. Shakib still has 1 or 2 more World Cups to go, and hopefully things will go his way. Some of the boys from the under-19 that just won the U19 World Cup will make their way to the national team, and them under Shakib's leadership could mean something big. Shakib for once did say he was eyeing to win the 2023 WC as the captain, and that's good because someone's at least setting that goal. At least the aim has been taken. This U19 Bangladesh team also speaks volumes about the impact Shakib had on Bangladesh cricket as a whole, in my opinion. Shakib's contribution was never limited to bat and ball only. He is an influential player. There is an aura around him, the energy he gives off, he makes others around him better. Shakib taught Bangladesh to be mentally strong and have some aggression in the way they approach the game, body language and so on. There was a time when Bangladeshi players would get sledged and not reply back, or say not protest the umpire's decision on field and things like that. You know, when Shakib and Wahab had that little fight or sledging going on among them. I remember there was a coverage in some Pakistani TV channel, and the next cricketer was saying that, oh, we're at a time that even Bangladeshi players points fingers and talks back to us. So Bangladesh was expected to be that team you trash talk to and hear nothing back. Shakib changed that. He tries to make a stand. There was that incident when he tried to call off the team at Nidhas Trophy versus Sri Lanka. He wants Bangladeshi players to feel confident like that, be a bit aggressive in the way they carry themselves, and I think while sometimes things can get controversial or step on the line, even that is an essential part of the process. I was reading interviews of these U19 players, and most of them looks up to the likes of Shakib. They are learning from the type of mindset Shakib has or the way he carries himself. I think because they had an example like Shakib growing up, it helped them to be more confident with themselves and have some aggression. The way they played the entire tournament and the final, they were attacking, confident and fearless. So, what Shakib is doing is inspiring generations of Bangladesh cricket in all kinds of ways, and that adds to the impact he brings. Like when you talk about, say, Sourav Ganguly, you don't only think about his contribution in the records, but also what he did for the team. He gave them an aggressive mindset that has been carried on from then to now, and Shakib has that type of an impact for his team in his own ways. Another example in this regard, Shakib also led a sort of protest against the boards in favor of the players, where they demanded certain facilities. When they actually went into the final meeting, in front of board heads, other players were getting nervous, but then Shakib took over and negotiated strongly on behalf of everyone. So, you see, he's literally changing the cricket culture for Bangladesh and teaching the players how to stand up for themselves. This change he's bringing will forever have a mark in history. I'll finish it off with some more of his records. In T20 internationals, with 92 wickets, Shakib is overall the third highest wicket taker after Lasith Malinga and Shahid Afridi, who have 107 and 98 wickets respectively. In all of T20s, he's only one of the 3 cricketers to have hit the double of 4,000 runs and 300 wickets after DJ Bravo and Afridi. And once again guys, now it almost goes without saying, he is the fastest to do it, having done it in 260 matches, that is 23 and 32 matches faster than them. Shakib is always the fastest. In T20s, Shakib has arguably the best ever individual innings bowling record, which came in a 2013 CPL match where he took 6 wickets for only 6 runs. Shakib also has the 5th best bowling figure in an innings in Big Bash. Playing for Melbourne Renegades, he took 4 wickets for 13 runs only. In BPL, Shakib has owned the man of the tournament thrice, while no one else has been able to win it more than once. Moving to the test format, Shakib is again the fastest to score 3,000 plus runs and take 200 plus wickets, surpassing the likes of Botham, Flintoff and Kapil Dev. He's only the 3rd cricketer ever to score a century and take a 10-4 in a single test match after the 2 legends Ian Botham and Imran Khan. Shakib didn't get to play a lot of matches against all top teams, but he proved himself in limited opportunities versus all. He scored a double 100 versus New Zealand in New Zealand. Shakib has 5 wicket hauls versus all top major test teams, and in test cricket history, only 3 other players have been able to do it, them being Dale Steyn, Rangana Herath and Muthiah Muralidharan. This list is of course excluding teams that just got the test status like Afghanistan and Ireland. He has such amazing test records, and the only reason his totals aren't higher is unfortunate. And that's because Bangladesh didn't get too many test matches to play over the last decade or so. Just one example, you just see how unfair and difficult it is for Shakib. Ben Stokes made his debut just before 2014. He has already played 63 matches, but Shakib, despite debuting way back in 2007, only got to play 56 matches. Ridiculous! Callis had played 56 matches within the first 6 years of his career. And at that point, he had 100 plus wickets and 3,700 plus runs as compared to Shakib's 200 plus wickets and 3,800 plus runs. Not only is it depriving the totals, but also when you play with such huge gaps, it is far more difficult to perform and have some sort of a rhythm to your game. In international cricket history, Shakib is also among the ones to win the most number of Man of the Series awards. In fact, he's currently number 4, tied in with Jayasuriya. And ahead of him are Kallis, Kohli and Sachin. That is, only Kohli is an active player in the top other than Shakib. If you look at the numbers, if Shakib just wins one more, he'll share the top 3 spot along with Kallis. And I think by the time Kohli and Shakib are done, they might just take the number 1 and 2 spots of this list. Moving to ODIs, finally, in this decade, Shakib is the 2nd highest wicket taker just after another Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of all times 11 material bowler, Lasith Malinga. Then he has another record that adds more to his light speed feats. In ODI history, only 4 players have managed to hit the double of 6,000 runs and 250 wickets. Jayasuriya, Kallis, Afridi and Shakib. Once again, Shakib is the fastest to do it by a huge margin. He has done it in 202 matches, and Afridi is on the 2nd position, being behind by 92 matches. Brothers, I think when it comes to rating all-time great cricketers, all-rounders should get a special priority, because in some eras it is easier to bowl and in some eras it is easier to bat. I mean, we all know scoring runs were much difficult as compared to now due to all the batting friendly rules, pitches, bowlers, So you can't simply compare records of Viv Richards, Tendulkar with the present ones and conclusively declare someone better just for passing them in some way. There's more to it. But top all-rounders masters both the two main skills of the game. That is, they are dealing with unfavorable situations at least on one side and being successful still. So if a cricketer is successful in both batting and bowling and breaks record, they deserve a higher degree of importance in the GO18 debates as their feats are more timeless. And here we have Shakib, who is breaking, shattering, and absolutely destroying all these all-rounding records at an unprecedented speed. Like no one's even close, bro. The great Shakib ain't breaking records by small margins. He is doing it by 50 plus, 100 plus, 150 plus matches. Like he's taken it to a level never ever seen before. What I'm trying to say with this video is that all these achievements and records of Mr. All-Rounder Shakib Al Hasan deserves to be talked about in international media way more than it is right now. In that sense, Shakib is quite underrated. We always see Virat Kohli's stats of crossing records all the time, and by the way, he is my current favorite batsman. I've no problem with that. I'm just saying, Shakib too deserves that level of recognition. Not many people internationally are even aware of all these records, but as true fans of cricket, we should be. We talked mostly about Shakib's records in this video, and still here we are, such a long video. That is how it be when we talk about legends. With all that, it goes without saying, Shakib Al Hasan is already one of the greatest cricketers ever. That is objective, that is a fact, and anyone who says otherwise is simply wrong and ignorant about it.